in the middle of the 3 weeks now. Many people, when they say benching, when they say Bרכת hamazon during the 3 weeks, they make an extra effort to say Al Narais Bavel before benching. Let's take a look a little bit at this introduction of Al Narais Bavel or Shir Hamalis to benching. It's very interesting that for some reason the benchers, the Sidurim, all put Al Narais Bavel and Shir Hamalis after the title of Seder Bרכת hamazon, as if it's a prelude, it's a beginning, it's a hakdama to Bרכת hamazon. However, let's look at the source of it. The whole source of saying Al Narais Bavel and Shir Hamalis really begins with the Shlah. The Shlah in Shara Oisies Ois Kuf in Kedushas HaAchila says, Siman Kuf Ayin, he brings the Zoyar and Parshas Truma. Mande is Adein al Psure umis Aneg Beinun Meichlun, someone who enjoyed his food. Isle La'adka La'ad L'daga Kedusha Da'ar Kadisha. He should remember and he should worry on the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Val Heichola de Malka de Koeschariv, and on the Heichal, on the Beis HaMikdash that was destroyed. And then he says, Ubeginu, Atziva diu Koes Atzva B'surei Bahu Chedu Umishtaye de Talmon, that someone who taka, when he eats his bread, thinks about the Churban Beis HaMikdash, Kuchabrichu Choshev Leikilu Bona Beisei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will look at it as if he built the Beis HaMikdash. Ubona Kol Inun Charvei de Bei Mikdasha Zakor Chukei. He built the Beis HaMikdash, he built everything that surrounds the Beis HaMikdash, and he finishes off Zakor Chukei. Schus to have such a chelik, such a person who has such a chelik, that the Rebbeinu Shalom should look at it, that he rebuilt it. And the Shlah says on this, this is where the Zohar finishes, and the Shlah says on this, Alkei Noegin Mizmor Al Narais Bavel Kaidim Bרכת hamazon. He says, therefore, there's a meaning to say Al Narais Bavel Bרכת hamazon, and he finishes off Shabbos and Yom Tov. We say Mizmor B'Shuv Hashem, B'Shuv Hashem es Shivas Tzion, that we say Shir Hamalis. So the Shlah originated this minig. It's the earliest source that we know of, for saying Al Narais Bavel. And taka the minig of Eidos HaMizrach, the minig of the Sfardim, is they don't have this, they don't say it. Even though, interestingly enough, they do generally go on Pi Kabbalah, and it's a Zohar, it's a Shlah, but we don't find it in the Sfardish Sidurim. Now, so what is this? So the Shlah seems to say that you finished eating your Suda, you ate a meal, in the Zohar, you remember the Churban Beis HaMikdash. So we add these extra things. But if you look, where is it brought in halacha, this Shlah? So the Magen Avraham brings it, and people know the Mishnah Berurah brings this halacha. But where does the Magen Avraham bring this halacha? Where does the Mishnah Berurah bring this halacha? It's not in Hilchas Bרכת hamazon where you would think it'd be part of benching, the way our benches as Sidurim look like. But it's in Siman Aleph in Shulchan Aruch. We all know the famous Siman Aleph, Siv Gimel in Shulchan Aruch. The Mechaber says, Roi l'chol yirei shemayim shei meitzer v'doeg al Churban Beis HaMikdash. The Mechaber says that every person should be meitzar, should be doeg, should be worried about the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Every person should worry about the Beis HaMikdash. So the Magen Avraham says on that. Zok the Magen Avraham says, therefore, before Bרכת hamazon, before you finish your Suda, before you bench, you say Al Narais Bavel or Shir Hamalis. And the Mishnah Berurah brings it la halacha here in Siman Aleph, so Kon Yud Aleph. He says, Kosav Shlah, Shevachol Suda, Yomer Al Narais Bavel. B'Shabbos v'chein b'Yom shein Omer Tachlin, you say Shir Hamalis. And he says, obviously, wasn't the rampant minig to say it. So he says, V'ikar, Sheyedam HaKo'omar, B'ach Kavanas Alev, Hein Hadvarim. Says just to say it, if you don't understand it, it's garnish, it's kavanas halev when it comes to, because it's not a din like amira that one should say it like you have to say Bרכת hamazon, but it's totally in kavanas halev. If you say Al Narais Bavel Shir Hamalis and you don't understand that you're remembering the Churban, then you didn't say anything. It says the ikir is the kavanas halev. The Aruch HaShulchan brings it at the end of the halachas of Dvarim Noegim B'Suda, not in the beginning of the halachas of Bרכת hamazon. We seem to see that it's not really part of Bרכet hamazon as much as it is that you ate a Suda, you should remember the Churban Beis HaMikdash. And it's beautiful, the Likutei Marich not in Bechas HaMazon, but in Dvarim HaNoegim Besuda. The old printed on page Kuf Yud Gimel. He brings a shla, and then he says, "Ufi aniyas daiti nira." Says his own word. So where does this come from to say Al Nais Bavel? It says the Efsha Al Pi Divrei HaGemara Soif Perek Cheskes Habatim. We all know the famous Gemara at the end of Cheskes Habatim that says, "The Mishachorev Beis Hamikdash from time of the destruction of Beis Hamikdash Hoya Hadin Shleinechel Basar Shebat Karbonis." That the person at the after Churban Beis Hamikdash Chazal really felt that they should get rid of and make a takon against eating meat because there's no longer karbonis. That because there's no more nesachim, we should no longer drink any wine. And we should no longer eat any bread. Because there's no longer mincha. Says it's a gzeira that we can't withstand not eating meat and bread. I guess he was unfamiliar of all today's funny diets. Says, but therefore, so now L'Kutei says in that Gemara, that therefore what comes out, that if a person sits down and he eats bread, and he drinks wine, it's Ki'ilu Chas V'Sholem Ein Anu Mis'avlan Al Churban Beis HaMikdash. It really looks like one is not being mis'abel on the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Really, we shouldn't have it. It's not Kaddish Yachal, but if you're going to sit there and eat, it's a nice meal, meat, wine, bread, it looks like you're forgetting all about the fact that we no longer have karbonis, the nesachim, the menachas. He says, therefore, lezois oimim al naris bavel. He says that's why we say al naris bavel. Loimer shechas v'shalom churban beis hamikdash loishachachnu, to say chas v'shalom, we haven't forgotten the churban beis hamikdash. Achi hahechrich kol zeh kasafti b'derech efshe v'Hashem yenicheni b'derech emes. He says this is what he's saying. Derech efshe, the pshat is that because if a person sits down to a suda, it could have the appearance as if he forgot that we don't no longer have a Beis HaMikdash. Because really, Chazal should have made it hakana of no more bread and wine. And therefore we say on Al Naris Bavel to say Chas V'Sholem, we haven't forgotten it. So it would come out that L'Chayr, it's not really part of Birchas HaMazon. It's no shaykhis to Birchas HaMazon. You ate, and really if you sat down at home and you have meat, and you had bread, you're not ready to bench for whatever reason, say Al Naris Bavel. Say Shir HaMalas on Shabbos, or the day there's no Tachanun. It's not really a chelik. It's not like you're going to bench, you need to say it. But I would finish over with something very interesting that I found in a sefer from Rav Gamliel Abinovich, in his sefer on Birchas HaMazon. He doesn't give a source, I'm assuming it's his own, he usually gives sources. He says, V'tzarech liskar b'soich sudasai churban Yerushalayim v'Hamikdash. Person needs to remember the churban Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash. V'ya'anach al kacha, and to be bothered by it. V'yayma mizmer al naris bavel. I should say the mizmer of al naris bavel. Says v'afal pisha ein raya ledavar. Says even though there's no raya, where there's a source to say al naris bavel, but he says darshinon smuchim. Says we get darshin smuchim. Dechsiv, the pasuk in Tehillim in Per Kuf Lamed Vav, pasuk Chavei towards the end of Kuf Lamed Vav says noisein lechem l'chol basar. V'samech lei, and right away in the next Per Kuf Lamed Zayin is al naris bavel. So he seems to say that there's some type of smichusa between al naris bavel and Birchas HaMazon. I don't know the source for it. It wouldn't apply to Shir HaMalos, only to al naris bavel, but maybe that's why he says there seems to be a smichusa, some reason to say it's Saimach to Birchas HaMazon.